All right, welcome back to Before You Vote. The big news that just came down is a 50 basis points reduction by the Fed in interest rates. To discuss it is Dr. Alexander Theisen from Grand Canyon University. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much, Mike. I love the opportunity.
The big question for everybody is how is this going to and when is this going to affect the average consumer?
Well, the funny thing about things like the Fed decision here is that they already have. As much as the current decision matters, it's people's expectations of future decisions. And this choice by the Fed to finally lower interest rates after an extended period of rate hikes and then elevated interest rates, people have been pricing in this possibility of the Fed lowering interest rates for a long time. So mortgage rates, for example, have been dropping actually all year in anticipation of the Fed's move. So in some sense, consumers are already starting to feel this. So, yeah.
What do you read into the 50 basis points and not 25, the bigger jump than people had maybe expected? What does that say to you? What does that tell you in your world that this means from the Fed?
Well, in some sense, you can always think of the Fed as trying to weave this balance. They're balancing two risks. There's the risk to inflation, right, which is what they've been currently focused on. And what this 50 basis point versus 25 basis point cut is indicating is that they really are seeing the fight over inflation as behind them. They're really seeing this now as a chance to renormalize, get interest rates back to a more normal, neutral stance where they're not putting as much strain on the economy. And they're really indicating very strongly that they see that as the main goal for them going forward and less so inflation.
Is this also an indicator to the employers out there that to get the hiring going again? I mean, obviously, you're the economist here. It's the idea that you've got to have wage increases much higher than inflation for an extended period of time to get our quality of life back. Is that indicator, raising wages, keeping the job market strong?
Well, hopefully this is an indicator that we are starting to enter that mode where, again, interest rates have been at this elevated level for so long. Hopefully this is an indicator to employers that they can start to maybe plan for maybe expanding their business if you've been holding off on it. Again, if you're a home buyer, maybe looking at finally stepping into that market there. So this is more almost of an indicator of the zone that we're going to be entering, more even than a individual singular decision by the Fed.
What are the possible negatives of this? What are the bad things that can happen?
Well, there's always risks on anything, right? So what the Fed, as I said, what they're indicating is we think that the inflation boogeyman is essentially defeated. Well, we're still not back to that 2% target that the Fed is aiming at. So we don't know, right? Current indications are showing that we are still getting this slow return to normalcy on the inflation front, but that battle's not over either. And the Fed is going to have to be paying a lot of attention to all of the indicators that are coming in on both sides now, both on the too hot and too cold side.
Do you think we'll see another rate cut this year?
I think we will. However, I think almost certainly not before the election, for example. I think this was a strong statement by the Fed, and I think now at this point might be the time for them to be weighing, okay, how much do we want to keep the foot on the accelerator versus lifting it off?
Well, Dr. Theisen, we appreciate the expertise because the average consumer wants to know how it's affecting them, and this was a great explanation of how that's going to work. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, this is what everybody's talking about, and this is also going to play a role in the election. So make sure you're an informed voter and informed consumer. We'll be back.